Hello friends and welcome back. If you're new here, hi, my name is Kallie Branciforte and we're going to start today's video with a fun little fact about my husband and I, and that is in the 15 years that we have been together, we have lived in, I think, 7 different houses / apartments, and of those 7 different places, only one of them had a bathroom closet, and I think only 2 of them had like drawers in the vanity. The point that I'm trying to make here is I've lived in a lot of small bathrooms with bad storage, and so I've just learned some little tips and tricks to find creative ways to get organized and to store things in a bathroom, and today I'm going to share with you some of my favorite ones. Okay, so for my very first trick, we're going to make use of some of the unused space that most bathrooms have. I find that most bathrooms tend to have a lot of like little tiny spaces that are unused, such as like spaces between toilets or the space right next to the shower. These are just hard spaces to take advantage of for storage, and that's why I love these skinny rolling carts. They are the perfect thin width to slide into tricky spots and still give you storage for things like toilet paper, towels, paper towels, toiletries, whatever you want. Also, 2 other things I want to point out about this cart. 1, it's got wheels, so it's really nice. You can pull it in and out, especially if it's like up against a toilet. And 2, it requires absolutely no tools to put it together. I put it together in about 15 seconds. And I always think that's really important to note because some furniture is just way too hard to put together. And fun little bonus, also work really great in kitchens as well. Okay, let's talk about counter space. I would say hands down, one of the hardest things about small bathrooms, besides not having closets, is they usually have limited counter space. And that counter space becomes prime real estate, and you have a toothbrush and then a bar of soap, and all of a sudden like all of your counter space is gone. That's why I love using off the counter containers like these ones. They're basically like mini floating shelves that you can hang just above the counter to store your most used items without giving away any precious counter space. So this set actually comes with 1 really large one, then a long shorter one, and then 2 smaller ones. So this is great. You can kind of customize it how you want, if you want to do like a whole wall, if you just need one spot. And obviously these are super great for the bathroom, but they would work great in tons of other places like office, kitchen, and best yet, they do not require any drilling, so they are also renter friendly. Another option that can be really renter friendly because it does not cost that much money if you live in a property where you're allowed to at least drill some holes into the wall is to consider putting in some cheap open shelving. I did this in our previous rental. This bathroom had 0 storage space, and I just got the really cheap like laminate shelving that you could get at Home Depot. I think they cost like $10 each. And then to upgrade the look a little bit, I actually just got some marble contact paper to cover the laminate boards to make them look like marble slabs as opposed to like cheap white laminate slabs. It immediately gave us 2 shelves of space to store stuff, where elsewhere that bathroom, which was like the main bathroom right off of our bedroom, had 0 storage space. Now we could store toiletries, we could store other stuff that we needed, and it was a really cheap, easy fix and renter friendly. Okay, let's talk about mirrors. Mirrors can be a really great place to find some extra storage. Now, if you own a house, you can do something like opt for a medicine cabinet, which actually gets installed into the wall and gives you some hidden space behind your mirror. We have one of these currently in our full bathroom upstairs, and it's just really great to be able to put our most used items right there. They're easy to grab, they're easy to get to, but they are not taking up counter space or cluttering up our bathroom. Now for the mirror down in our powder room, I just opted for a mirror that has a little shelf underneath. So this just gives a tiny bit of extra storage. This bathroom has barely any counter space, so it just gives a little bit more space to store some stuff that you might need in the bathroom. And what I love about doing a mirror with a shelf is this is also renter friendly. In most of the homes that I have ever rented, I typically will swap out the mirrors. Usually a rental property is gonna have one of those like just ugly big mirrors with the clip, you know, they're like the plastic clip-ins, which are hideous. And a really easy rental hack for bathrooms is those are really easy to come out. You just unscrew the clips and that piece of mirror can come off. Just wrap it in a blanket or in some bubble wrap, store it in the basement, in the attic, wherever your extra storage space is. And then you can hang like a real mirror there while you live there. And then when it's time to move out, you just put that like ugly clip up mirror back up and you're good to go. And I've done this this in almost all of the houses where we have rented, and it's just a really quick, easy upgrade for the bathroom to make it look nicer. And like I said, if you need a little extra storage, opt for a mirror that has a shelf underneath. This next option is if you have a bathroom that has a little extra height. The downstairs in our current house has pretty decently high ceilings, so there was a lot of vertical space that wasn't being used in our downstairs bathroom. So what I did was just add sort of like a ceiling height shelf. It gives me like 1.5 feet of extra storage space for that bathroom, which was before it was just completely unused space. And I use it to keep some extra toiletries, extra toilet paper up there. But I love this because it just takes advantage of space that you might not have thought about using before. And again, if you get a pretty non-invasive shelf, this can be renter friendly as well. Another fun little sort of like hack if you're doing an open shelving concept like the one that I just showed is if you're storing toilet paper on the open shelving is to consider wrapping it in tissue paper. Now, I know this sounds a little bit extra and you're like, I'm really gonna wrap like every roll of my toilet paper in tissue paper. I say no, but I just say that wrap a couple of rolls and then keep those rolls in the front, and it immediately kind of like dresses up toilet paper. It makes it look a little less like you're walking into like a custodial closet, and instead kind of makes it look like it matters or it fits or it's supposed to be on the open shelving. So anyways, this is how you wrap toilet paper in tissue paper. Final trick is if you are lucky enough to have some drawers in your bathroom, which I feel like is often hard to come by in small bathrooms, but if you do have some drawers, make sure you're utilizing that space 100%, you're getting your best bang for your buck, and get yourself some drawer organizers. I love the ones from the Dollar Tree, especially if they're fairly shallow drawers. You get a pack of 3 of these for $1, and I find them super great for organizing bathroom drawers. I feel like bathroom drawers, if not properly organized, just become like kitchen junk drawers. You just throw every bathroom related item in there and then you can never find what you need. So I love using little organizers. I even go as crazy as adding labels to my little organizers so I remember, and it just helps keep everything in its spot and where it's supposed to go. All right, my friends, so that does it. Those were some of my best small bathroom organization tips, or really just bathroom organization tips in general. I had small bathrooms in mind for this because I have never lived in a big bathroom. I don't know, what's it like? Tell me in the comments. I'm not sure. I find that bathrooms can be one of the hardest places to keep organized. So I hope at least some of these tips were helpful for you and you can take them and apply them to your bathroom. As always, if you use these tricks, make sure that you share them with me. I love it when you tag them on Instagram stories. I always share your guys' posts that you share with me on my own story as well. It's always really fun for me to see if you've used any of my ideas or my hacks or my tips in your real life. So make sure that you share them with me there. But as always, I hope you guys are having a fantastic day. Thank you so much for stopping by and watching, and I will see you all in my next video. They say never try to hide yourself, but I spent